Okay, this is my first attempt at making a YouTube, and I'm going to discuss what I feel is one of the solutions to this horrendous problem, national catastrophe that we have of school shootings and the national catastrophe of the failure to treat problems of mental illness in the United States. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm a critical care nurse, basically a bedside critical care nurse. I've been working as a critical care nurse for 40 years. I deal with people with addiction and alcoholism and various mental illnesses for years and years and years. Never knew what it was. Never understood it until my own child came down with these problems years ago. And at that time, it gave me the impetus. She gave me the understanding that I have today about mental illness, and that there is a partial solution to the problems that these folks suffer. I know it's true. I've been working since my own child became fully sick with these problems some years ago. I've been working in the hospital that I work with families and patients. And I can tell you where the blame is today, why we can't deal with it, why we're not dealing with it, because we're not dealing with it on a national level. Many decades ago, I remember in nurse training, the system that we used to have, and that was that there was a mental health facility, public mental health facility, in every county in the United States. Sometimes many counties. I trained in the Boston area, and I did my nursing training at something called, I think it was Metropolitan State Hospital in Waltham. Well, we had the state hospital. We had McLean's, which was the best private hospital in the United States. We had a psychiatric facility in the hospital that I was working in at the time. Those were all closed, not all of them, but all state facilities were closed back in the 70s, I believe it was, and they dumped all these folks who were suffering these disorders out on the street to fend for themselves. And at that point, the profession of psychiatry named mental illness as a behavioral problem. A behavior problem. And that is that people are just acting incorrectly. And if we could tell them, convince them to act correctly, then there wouldn't be a problem. It would all be cured. And they've been doing that for the past 40 or 50 years. So the profession of psychiatry split off from general medicine. It used to be considered as part of a neurology, I believe. They used to have nervous hospitals, which is closer to the problem, I say, than it is today. Behavior is the result of a nervous problem. In my opinion, in the opinion of everybody that suffers these problems that I talk to every day when I go to work. And the families. I talk to the families about these things. They've been through it up to here, trying to get help for their children. And basically, they get to the point of, they wash their hands of it in many, many instances. It's a sad, sad state of affairs. I can tell you, there's a medical reason for these behaviors, and there is a pretty good partial cure to stabilize these people. And I've done it in my own family, and I do it every day when I go to work. I continue to do it with my family, so it works. The folks that I deal with at work, I have no idea whether they continue it or not. The vast majority of them don't. but I lay the problem here firmly on the profession of psychiatry in the United States and on the profession of politics in the United States. If you're interested in this video, if you're interested in what I have to say, I'll continue this. If I get a bunch of likes, I'll continue this. If I get some likes, I'll continue this. But it takes hard thought, it takes commitment, and the only people that I've come across that have that ability to do hard thought and commitment in this field are the people who suffer from these problems. That's the families. Mostly it's the families, because the patients themselves, the folks that suffer from these disorders, are unable to help themselves. It's our problem as family members and communities to deal with these issues properly. It's tough. The solution is tough, but it can be done. And right now, everything I see on the news and everything I see in the hospital is they're avoiding the hard issue here. The problem and the solution, they're avoiding it. They're talking all around it. So if you're interested in this, and I can go on for hours about it. I used to run a blog at the hospital I work with. There were a lot of people interested in this, and a lot of people convinced that this is correct. This is the correct approach. If you're interested in this, like this video, and I'll make another one. And I'll go into what needs to happen. What is the problem with these people? It's known, but it's not generally used for whatever reason, because of the pharmacy profession, or because it's too difficult, or just because the family's worn out, or because the patients are too obnoxious. If you are interested in this, like this, I'll do the next one. That's what I have to say.